And welcome to the Crawford Podcasting Network for another episode of All Rell and Good on the Crawford Podcasting Network. Richard Rellford, my guest, man from Riviera Beach, Florida, Suncoast High. Dude who played against him says he has a lot of bounce. Can you still dunk? Can you do 360s and that kind of high wire axe, Rich? Come on, I want you to be honest with me right now. Can you
I'm
still
gonna be
that?
honest with you, Tom. No, I ain't doing.
Can you touch the net?
I can still go up and dunk. I just have to walk
Oh, you
up
can
to
dunk.
it.
Okay.
Yes, but I have to jump straight up. I can't just run and do all that other crazy stuff I used to do. I can go straight up and do it, and that's about all you're gonna get from me.
Yeah. Okay. I got you. Okay. Well, for a guy who could barely touch the rim, white guys can't jump. Okay. So, I mean, come on, give me a break here. I'm not going to throw any pity your way. Okay. But anyways, listen, we've talked about, we've had so much fun with All Rell and Good in our second year right now, Rich. And obviously we got the hottest team in college basketball, maybe next to Gonzaga in the entire country right now. And so I thought, with StreamYard, the beauty of that, to celebrate this Michigan basketball team, break down this Michigan basketball team, we start incorporating some of your former teammates and just, former players. I know Sean Higgins is knocking on the door. He wants to come back on because he's such a shy guy, I mean, he wants to
Sean's
get
one of
some
my
confidence.
guys.
But
Sean's
anyway,
a great guy.
so I couldn't think of a better guy than one of your teammates from that 84-85 team. And we're going to bring him in right now. And there he is, Butch Wade out of Boston, Mass. You guys came in as freshmen, the true Fab Five. People talk about C. Webb and Jalen and all those cats. This was the original Fab Five. And I can remember him. I was season ticket holder back then. So I can remember Paul Jokic, the one dude who defected. Basketball was too tough for him, so he went and ran over to the football team, right? Wasn't it for Jokic? He did that. He had Richard Rellford, Robert Henderson, went to my high school, Lansing Eastern, Butch Wade, and the late Roy Tarpley. Am I missing anybody? Is that five right there?
Nope, you got that five. That's the five.
I got the five. Well, let's bring in Butch. Okay, Butch. Hey, give me a compelling story about your buddy Richard Rellford. I mean, was he like the ladies' man of this 84-85 team, or who was that cat? Was it him or was it you, Butch?
I don't think it was either of us.
There you go, Butch. It wasn't either one of us.
Okay. I appreciate your honesty, and Butch and Rich, and we'll start with you, Butch, and we'll just go back and forth. I mean, and I've been telling this to Richard for the last couple weeks, that I just think this Michigan basketball team reminds me so much of that 84-85 team, where in January, if I'm not mistaken, I mean, you got thrashed. I mean, this is a little bit different because you did lose at this stage, longer season. You had actually a non-conference, but you got thrashed by Indiana. You beat Ohio State. You lost at Illinois, but then you went down to West Lafayette and you pounded Purdue and you won like 17 games in a row. I mean, do you look at that team, Butch, and look at this team and see the similarities that I do?
I do. I think the team that we had, as well as this one, they just get after it, and we were real good at it back then, just, getting after people.
Yeah. I tell you what, Richard, you comment on this, and you and I were texting the other night, and I have never seen such tenacious perimeter defense at the arc and beyond on this Michigan team. I mean, Wisconsin was freaking stifled. What did you think of that?
Well, what it reminded me of on our team in the 84-85 team, Gary was a freshman.
Yeah.
And Gary started the defensive stuff. When we watched Gary play D, it locked us all in. And that's exactly what's going on with the Michigan team today. Because with Smith locks him in on that defense, him and Franz, and the next thing you know, my big boy comes in, and Hunter is the rim protector, and that's exactly what he does.
Yeah.
That was Roy Tarpley.
Well, yeah, Roy Tarpley, and let's not forget Butch Wade, who is basically the glass eater on that team, right? I mean, you gobbled glass, Butch Wade. I mean, were there defined roles on that team, Butch, and that 84-85 team, and you were that guy? I mean, you weren't the highest scorer of the team, but you rebounded and defended.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I did a lot of playing hard, and we played for each other, and I took a lot of pride in rebounding. And that was just one of the things. We all had roles, and we kind of embellished those roles, and we got after it. I mean, we played with a chip on our shoulder, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know, we got that thump in that first game by Indiana. We got together and was like, that's not happening again. And then we just bonded. We spent a lot of time together, off the court as well. We hung out. We did things together. We would go to a video arcade game to hang out together.
Yeah.
We'd have a training table together. It was a true sense of a family. When Rich went out there, and it sounds a little odd, but it was one of those things when we bonded. It was like, you know what? If you pick on one of us, you got to pick on all of us. And we just
Whoa,
went
there
out.
you go. Yep. That is it.
That's a unity. But you see, Rich, I'm seeing optics, and this is different with COVID because the benches have to create their own enthusiasm of Chrysler Arena. Okay, so they're going over there, they're forced to be jazzed up and all that. But I'm telling you what, and I've watched a lot of college basketball this season, Rich, and I've never seen a more animated team than that Michigan bench. I mean, they go nuts. Even guys, like Adrian Nunez is not playing. He's so engaged. I mean, don't you think that's a big part of the unity on this team?
Listen, when I saw Chase Howard fall on the ground and they had to resuscitate him, I knew then that it was just like our team because we always talked about family, just like Butch just told you. Yeah. The one thing that we always did, we ate together and we hung out together.
Yeah.
And we created that bond from the starting five to the last guy on the team. We all hung out together. And that makes a big difference. It really does.
Yeah. I got to ask you, Butch, were you, if I'm kind of going back in my lore and I'm embarrassed to know I remember everything about that team, get a life, right, Tom? But weren't you one of the captains on that team or both those years? I mean, how did that happen? Because you did not start your emergence came your junior year.
Yeah.
If I'm not okay, so you didn't get a lot of PT or freshman, sophomore. I mean, that says a lot that you were the captain. I mean, how did all that happen?
It came about just coming to work every day, putting your hard hat on and just getting after it in every single practice. And, if one of the players were down, we always pick that player back up, whether it be, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and then the players on the team just instilled that faith in me to, to almost be the spokesman, I guess, so to speak. So my junior year, I guess, was myself and Leslie Rockymore.
Oh, the Rock. That dude could fill it up, man. He was my kind of guy.
Well, Tom, I should tell you, the reason that we think that Butch was the captain was because Butch was for us, probably the toughest kid on the team. Every big guy on the other team, Butch guarded. And I told you this before, if I wanted to get a shot, Butch would always say, bring him off of me on the screen. That's how we did it. And that's one of the things, all the guys, anybody on the team knew, if you need to get a shot off, you better go through Butch. Because if you don't, it's going to be tough.
No. I mean, you weren't exactly Kyle Macy at the free throw line. But other than that, you were flawless, Butch, in my mind. I mean, but the guy that led this, from a scoring, people forget, and we lost Roy Tarpley a few years ago, and that was really sad. But I mean, he was a top scorer, if I'm not mistaken. And you had the judge, Antoine Jobert, Gary Grant, this freshman with all these veteran players. That must have been interesting. You and Butch, and then the Rock, as I mentioned, Leslie Rockymore, Robert Henderson. That was, he added to that depth, and he had Guard Thompson, the sophomore out of East Grand Rapids, who he was he could fire the ball. You kind of had that. You had kind of all your bases covered, didn't you, Butch, in terms of who contributed what?
Absolutely, we did. You know what? And everybody took pride in their role. People would say, "Oh, you didn't score much," but I rebounded, I helped my team win, and did a good job. We always say, you don't have to be a star, but be a star in your role.
Right.
Tom, this is what I love about Butch. You see, this is what I tell you about Butch.
Yeah, we talk a lot about Butch.
Right. This is
on and off the air.
This is why we got along.
Yes.
Yeah, but we got along because Butch was the level-headed guy.
Oh, was he? Okay. And you were not? Were you not the level-headed guy?
Well,
Rich?
we were level-headed, but me, Butch, Roy, and Antoine, we were the guy that you never really seen much when you went out. But we all went to Thanos, or now, which is, like I said, the brown jug.
Oh yeah.
And if we knew, say a guy needed a ride, call Butch.
Right.
Butch gonna be there for you, man. That's why we, what I love is how me and Butch and all of us are still friends to this day.
That's cool.
Because anybody will tell you, man, Butch salt of the earth dude, man. Butch is somebody gonna be in your corner no matter how it goes.
Yeah, well, and a physically imposing guy. You know, Butch, just for our Michigan fans out there, we have tons of them. They go all the way back to start when they started following Michigan in the 60s, like I did, from Cassie, Campy Russell, Henry Wilmore, and all the dudes moving forward. So what do you do? You're down in Florida right now. I mean, you played several years of international ball, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And you're coaching right now and in Florida, right?
I am coaching and also teaching and doing some administrative work here in Florida at one of the high schools here.
Oh, that's terrific. What's the most gratifying thing that you get out of that?
Working with today's young people, when I grew up in Boston, there was always a coach, or a teacher, outside of my family, of course, that was always there for you. You come across a lot of young players, particularly in today's game, that don't have a lot of guidance or don't relate to many people well. I mean, it's just everything nowadays, people are to themselves. They're either on the streaming games on their TV, they're on their phone, or they're doing a lot of social media. There's no one-on-one interaction. And just being there, people, because there's a time when almost every young person is going to need somebody to look up to and to provide them with some type of guidance. And I offer that every day at school, and it works. I have guys that go on and graduate and come back to see me afterwards and say, Coach, thanks a lot. One,
right.
My son, is over in Europe. My ex-wife still lives there. My son came over here. He played basketball all with Friendly Prep, and then he got a scholarship to go to Auburn. And I was hard on him. Then he blew out his knee, transferred to Miami of Ohio. But we used to have some real tough, man-to-man conversations. And to this day, because I was so hard on him, and because I know what's out there. I know what he can be exposed to. I know what lurks out there. But he'll call me to this day and say, Dad, thank you so much for staying on me and giving me the advice that you did and being in my corner, even when I wasn't there for myself. And that's so gratifying to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need a lot, to be a role model, so to speak, or somebody that today's young people can reach out to and talk to, because that's a spot that's left vacant in a lot of young men and a lot of young women as well. So just to be able to provide that, that's the most gratifying thing for me.
Well, Rich, I trust that, when your son's a senior, and a viable, D1 prospect, college basketball. Do you go to Butch and for advice on, how he worked with his son and tutored him and mentored him, or are you guys have different styles?
Well, you have different styles because of your kids are different. And like Butch, I am hard on my son. The one thing that my son will tell you is I'll always say to him, I can't want it for you. That's my favorite line.
That's good.
Because you have to want it for yourself. My son will tell you too that he won't tell anybody that I played. That's his thing. If people ask him, man, did Dad play?
That's funny.
He'll tell them if they ask him. But other than that, he won't say anything. But he works hard, and that's what I love.
Yeah. Well, I admire both of you. I mean, my whole family they were all educators, and I admire educators and coaches. I mean, I think they should be the most high-paying entities in the entire world. I mean you guys are what's laying the groundwork for having a really positive citizenship in society in this world. And so I'm real sensitive when it comes and appreciative when it comes to to teachers. And I want to talk about another one of the teachers growing up. Is your coach? Obviously, a coach is like a teacher. So I got to ask Butch a question that I've asked Rich a number of times. What did Bill Frieder? What did he sell you? I mean, how did he land you to come to the University of Michigan from Boston, Mass? I mean, that's not exactly typically Michigan doesn't get well, they get them from all over, but I mean, they were at that time they were going a lot of the PSL in Detroit area and the Flint area, obviously. How did he get you? What was Freed's magic potion to get Butch Wade to come to Michigan?
I think it was a culmination of a few things. One, my parents wanted me to go away from home and not be so close to Boston. In my high school coach and I, the schools that were left and the fight, we put them all on the board and we put up the pluses and minuses of all the schools that were left. And Michigan, by far, was the best choice for me in totality. I mean, in terms of education, academics, location. And there was a lot of potential there. I know Rich was going because he and I had spoken in, and Rob Henderson was coming in. So there was an opportunity for us to all come in and do well. And at that time, the coach that was recruiting me was Mike Boyd, and he was real.
Yeah.
He was a great guy. The thing was, they presented the opportunity to do what we did. There were no promises made. There were no, just the opportunity. Because before I came there, a year before, I think people in the East thought I was crazy because the Big East was just coming along that time. They were like,
yeah.
You can go to the Big East and play. And, and my style of basketball, just that rough, tough grittiness, play more into the Big Ten.
Yes. Georgetown type player.
Yeah, it played to me going into Michigan. I remember the year before I went, I think they were 7-20 perhaps. And I was like, wow. Yeah. But we all got together and we were destined to turn things around. And you could see when we got on campus and working out, and we had, our workouts, and then we played basketball afterwards. I said, this is a special group here, and everything just fell into place. And I tell you, it was a great journey, great experience. And God, if I had a chance to do it all over again, I'd do it the same way.
Butch, before I go back to Rich on this, I want to get your answer that I've asked him about Freed's. I mean, I asked Rich, what do you like about Freed's? He let us play. He just let us do our thing. Was that what it was for you? It wasn't like you were playing for Judd Heathcote where you were 10 soldiers out there being orchestrated. What was it about Freed's for you?
That I would say exactly what Rich said. He let us just go out there and be us, and we had fun. We won games, and we just go out and play basketball, guys. And that's what we did. We did a darn good job with it.
Rich, do you think Frieder could coach now? I mean, with that style, how would he be in I know he's older, and obviously, but would his style fit right now or not?
Yeah, I think so, because Freeze believed in letting players who were talented, like our group, use their talent.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Antoine is. That's exactly what Juwan Howard is doing. He let his players use their talent. He doesn't handcuff them and tell them what they can't do. Frieder never told us what we couldn't do. He always told us that, you go out there, you play hard, and that's what's going to make things different. And that's exactly what happened. We played hard, and you know what? We had games, man, where you may have a guy score 20, and then another guy scores 10, but it didn't matter because at the end of the night, the W is what happened. The win is what mattered.
Right. Now, so the reason once again, I'm going back to that comparison of this 84-85 team with this, your team, your junior year, with what's going on at the University of Michigan this year. First of all, because in 1984, Michigan's football team was 6-6. It was, we Michigan fans were like, oh my God, this is horrible. Bo had, didn't have a winning season. Harbaugh got hurt. That killed that year. And it's like this year's football season was horrible. And yet, like in 84-85, all of a sudden to the rescue comes basketball. And I want to ask you, Rich, we'll start with Butch. There was a game that I'll never forget of that season. It was on a snowy night. You guys were starting to really get on a roll. It was kind of late January. You had just hammered Minnesota, and Tarpley hit this big shot on a Saturday night to beat Iowa. You remember that game? That was a big game, and that bank shot. And then Michigan State comes to town with Scott Skiles, his junior year. We won't talk about we won't talk about the following year right now about Michigan State. We're going to talk about this particular junior year, and you guys just hammered them. It reminded me so much of this Wisconsin game. You only winning that game by 11, but you were up by like 25 or 30. Do you remember that game? And do you look at that game as one of those games, Butch, that really got you going?
Yes, I would say so. It's we had a team that when it was time to go to the next level, we could. I remember one game, and I'm not sure if it was my junior or senior year, but we played at Chrysler Arena on a Saturday afternoon. We were playing against Kansas.
Oh, yeah, that was 84, 85. Yeah.
And they came in with a whole bunch of hype. They had big guy, I can't think of it. It was a Greg Dryden.
They had Greg Dryden.
They had the Thompson kid. They had a bunch of guys. And we, at that point, I think we may have even been the underdog in our own gym.
You were. Yep.
And we took it personal. We came out and it was like, you know what? This is our house, fellas. This is our family. Let's do it. And everything fell into place. You know, we played hard. We played well. We played together. It was that's one of the games that really stuck out that year.
No, I remember that game vividly. The final score was 96-77 for our listeners out there. And Kansas was a top 20 team, I think 15th in the nation. And you just, man, suffocate. And because I had thought, oh God, I'm a little nervous about this Kansas game because you just hammered Michigan State. And I thought you might, and everybody's thinking, oh my God. I mean, Judd Heathcote says, and this is Judd saying this, and Judd doesn't really throw out comments when it comes to Michigan. He says, good Lord, they look like Georgetown out there. And for Judd Heathcote to say that says a lot. And I'm thinking, oh, my God, these Michigan guys are going to get caught up in that. And then you just went up and hammered the Kansas Jayhawks. That was big time, Rich. You remember that?
Remember Calvin? Yes. You remember Calvin Thompson?
Oh, yes.
Calvin Thompson he played at Kansas that year. Well, he's one of my Facebook friends. And the way he became my friend was he inboxed me and he said, Rich, this is Calvin Thompson. I played for Kansas. I was on the team when you guys spanked us.
Oh, man.
That's how I remember Thompson.
That's an understatement. Spanking. Hey, but Butch, and the thing about it is you guys won Big Ten titles your junior and senior year. And when we have, and just for a footnote here, Rich, we're going to have Butch on again this year. So, and that's when we'll talk more about the 85, 86 season. So when you were Big Ten champs, okay? So we'll talk about that next time we have Butch on. But I wanted to ask about, Butch, your take on how the season, you beat Indiana. I mean, you had a 17-game or a 16-game winning streak going into the tournament. We know what happened down at Dayton, the squeaking by Fairleigh and Dickinson, and then you end up playing this team called Villanova that it was like 9th seed, yet they end up winning the national title with Ed Pinckney and Raleigh Massimino as a coach. I mean, when you look back at your junior year, let's cap that junior year. I mean, you can't downplay it. You were Big Ten champs, but it's such an NCAA tournament, identity to college basketball. That was probably pretty hard at the time to drop that game to Nova, right?
It was in the sense, I remember that real well. We had Ed Pinckney, Dwayne and Gary McLean and Presley and all those guys. But, and correct me if I'm wrong, I remember that was the year that we had initially installed the shot clock in the Big Ten Conference. And then when we got into the tournament, we were not allowed to use it.
You're right.
They just held the ball. We were anxious. We wanted to go up and down and, let's get after it. And they just came on, basically went to Ivy League stall with us. And we just, they took the air out of the ball, so to speak. We like the ball big and ready to go. And they just squoze it and took all the air out. It was probably one of the most frustrating games ever for all of us.
Well, I mean, because let's go back, Rich, that Friday night game, Fairleigh Dickinson, and the Dayton crowd is there. Okay, they're playing in the second game against Nova, and they all want, they want to get in Michigan. I mean, you're the number one seed in the nation, and going to the tournament. So they're all cheering. So you're the bad guy. They're all cheering against you. Fairleigh Dickinson did what Butch just described. It took the air out of the ball. I mean, did that give you a wake up call? Because I thought, okay, this is good. This is good. Mm-hmm. Freed's team's got a wake up call here. They're not going to be full of themselves. They'll be ready no matter if it's Dayton or Nova. And it was Nova. I wish it had been Dayton, but it was Nova. I mean, so how did you take us from the Fairleigh Dickinson game to that Villanova game? Did you not get rid of the nervous? Take us through that.
I don't think we were nervous. I think Butch hit the nail on the head. See, we had got used to the shot clock.
Yeah.
And when they slowed the ball on, especially Fairleigh Dickinson, when we was only scoring on balls or turnover possessions. We were not scoring other than that. And when we got to Villanova, we like to run, but they like to run as well. I think they played a really good game because we started the game out. If I recall, I started the Villanova game out with a dunk. And we were all hyped. But I think what Villanova did was they slowed it down just enough because we just wanted to run. And it kind of hurt us a little bit.
Yeah. Back before we wrap this up, Butch, I want to get your take again, and we hear from Rich. He's just giddy over this Hunter Dickinson. I mean, it's like he's his PR guy. It's unbelievable. I think he wants to be his agent. I think that's the bottom line on this whole thing. But regardless of that, I mean, when you look at his game, Butch, I mean, are you as jaw dropping as I am? I didn't see that I didn't see this coming, because even though he was frustrated in the first half against Wisconsin, he only had 2 points at halftime. Michigan was still ahead, and Michigan, and he ended up with 14 points or whatever. He bounced back. I mean, when you look at his game, break it down for us if you could.
He's got a very high basketball IQ, I would say.
Yeah. Yes.
He uses his height, his positioning well. He's got really good footwork. He doesn't do things he can't do. He'll work it around the basket. He's got good hands.
Yeah.
And good timing. I mean, I tell you, he's got the sky's the limit with this guy.
Yeah.
I like him a lot.
Yeah. I mean, so with that being said, and we'll ask you a follow-up question when we have you on later in the season before we get in the NCAA tournament, when Michigan probably #1 seed in the country. Who knows?
I hope so.
Where do you think this? Give us your vision of what after 20 games in the Big Ten, as long as we all get to play 20. Because COVID's coming.
Right.
Give me that number. Give me that win total you would think at this point that Michigan's going to get.
20 games in.
I mean, 20. There's a 20-game Big Ten slate, okay? And right now they're 6-0. Do you think that they're going to win 15, 16, 12, 18? You guys were 16-2.
Right.
How many think they're going to win? Take a guess.
There are a lot of, if they stay healthy, and they stay consistent. That's the biggest thing. That you have with a lot of teams are just inconsistent. If they can stay consistent, they stay healthy, they stay together, and they keep their feet on the ground. And most important, stay humble.
Yeah.
I see 15, 16 wins.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Because it's the Big Ten's a tough league.
Oh my God.
Based on what you hear from the analysts and commentators, that the Big Ten's probably the toughest, or best conference, top to bottom in the country. So you've got to bring your A game every single night. Right. Sometimes that's hard. Sometimes that's hard to do. Like I said, there'd be different variables. But yeah, somebody gets into foul trouble, God forbid somebody gets injured, or we always, like when I coach, my high school team, one of the assistants, we always tell our team, let's go 1-0 tonight. Let's take it game by game. Let's just go 1-0 tonight.
Yeah.
You get that one, you go to the next. Let's go 1-0 tonight. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, and what's behind us doesn't matter anymore. So I think the sky's the limit. I think they can get 15. They're playing well. They've got good pieces. They got good offense. They got a big man in the middle, and they play tenacious defense. So
yeah. Okay, I'm gonna say so 50. Let's just say you're predicting 16, because we'll see who's closest when we bring you on again. Okay, you're number 16. Maybe you're gonna match that, Rich. What do you have the Wolverines out of that 20-game slate?
I had 16 off the jump.
Okay, let's just be diplomatic.
16, I had 16 off the jump because I know that they still have to go on the road.
Yeah. Minnesota could be.
Minnesota. And Iowa gonna be tough games on the road.
Oh yeah, Luka Garza. Yeah, that will be good. Hey guys, this is you look up and 30 minutes goes by. We feel like we're just warming up here in the warm-up line, but we're gonna do it again, Butch Wade. We really appreciate that. Obviously, Rich, great job in connecting with your old teammate. We're gonna do it again next week on another teammate, and Butch later in the year. Keep waving that maize and blue flag of yours, and let's see if we can get a Big Ten title. So to both of you, thanks so much. And as always, stay safe and go blue.
Thanks a lot, I appreciate it, man. Much love.
Thank you, guys.
All right. See you now.
All right, we'll see
All
you.
right, Tom.